Pokemon Red. Not to be confused with Pokemon Fire Red, but the classic game from always back in 1999, the English release. Is a classic game, of course, starting off the Pokemon franchise, and I think it is due time that some folks want to, give it some light. I've noticed inside of most of the Nuzlocking videos and whatnot that come up here and there on YouTube, no one goes before Gen 4. It's very rare that people even touch Gen 3, but basically all I'm saying is that everybody needs physical special split and graphics that aren't older than themselves. So I decided to take the liberty of doing so myself inside of Pokemon Red, inside of one of my classic letter-only Nuzlockes. This time I'm going to be running with the letter C. There's only 6 eligible encounters that we have inside the entire game. One of them is a starter, of course, but let me know down below what you think about this idea of going into Pokemon Red and using a specific letter. I have a multitude of other letter-only Nuzlockes inside of my channel, and main restrictions are all my Pokemon have to have their species begin with the letter C. That's the only eligible Pokemon that I'm able to use in battle. No items, set mode only. This is your basic thing. Oh, and of course, the epiphany of Nuzlocke rules. If a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and can no longer be used. Well, we're going to go ahead and join Chuck here in just a moment, but let me know down below about your thoughts, and if you want to see different letter combination, game combinations, because there's 26 letters in the alphabet, and Pokemon's been around for over 30 years now. So there is a multitude of different variants and ways that we can maneuver around. So let's just get right into it. First thing I gotta do, I'm on the same team. I can't handle these graphics. It's time to switch things up a little bit here. All right, here we go. Look at this. Just look at it, dude. I can't imagine it. It's so beautiful to look at. Of course, we do have to pick Charmander as our starter, as it is the only C-named Pokemon we can get at this point. Carter joins our team as Blue picks Squirtle. Of course. We do have Growl and Scratch at our disposal, so this is basically just going back and forth, making sure Squirtle can't do too much to us, as it has Tail Whip, and we're able to overwhelm it eventually. And before we actually get on to the rest of the funness, we have to do an errand for the professor, get the Pokedex item, and now we go on the hunt for our next Pokemon. Since we are in red version, it is a little less likely, so much less likely, to find who we're looking for next, who is a C-named Pokemon. We do eventually find the itty-bitty cutie bug guy, and our first actual catching encounter is a Caterpie. Good deal. Cutie Tootie joins our team. We do some level grinding inside the forest, beating up the other trainers in here before we go ahead versus Blue once again. This is a lot easier for Carter to kind of handle since, he has level 9s, and our Ember spamming Charmander is able to take good hits from the Squirtle, who's only level 8. So, good deal. We have to do a little bit more grinding with Cutie Tootie, as it's quite under level, before going to Pewter Gym, the rock-type gym. Carter and Caterpie are both weak to rock, so here we go versus Brock. Spam Ember a bunch, as it is the best move that we can use. The special defense stats of both of his Pokemon are atrocious at this point. Geodude goes down to a multitude of Embers. I do some switching around with Onix, as it has the move Bide, which will retaliate with the damage taken after 3 turns. But since we have still really good special attack versus its low special defense, getting a burn on the way, we are able to overwhelm the Onix. After making sure we don't evolve our Caterpie, we do get the best TM, Bide. You've got to be kidding me. Anyway, we do some more training inside the next route, getting our Carter all the way to level 16, and at that level, it's able to evolve into a Charmeleon. Good deal. I'm really grateful that we have another encounter before the Cerulean Gym, as it is a water-type gym, and there is no way Charmeleon is going to be able to handle all of this. So instead of Mount Moon, we get the TM for Water Gun, which is a crazy TM to find, and get a Clefairy encounter. This Pokemon is going to be so good. It learns so many different special moves. It will literally carry us. Kara might as well be named Carrie. We're going to see how good she is in just a little while here. But it instantly is able to learn Water Gun and do great work in Mount Moon versus all the trainers in here. There's so much experience to gain, and we don't want to leave anything hanging out for no reason. I mean, there's no reason for us to come back here later, so we gotta get everything while we can. Going through the rest of Mount Moon, we also get the Helix fossil and make our way into Cerulean City. Well, I do enjoy this kind of scenery here. Oh my gosh, like the people who made this kind of mods or whatnot are insane, so just really appreciatory of that. But there is a little bit of work that we have to do before we go ahead versus Misty. First off is battling Blue, who has Pidgeotto instead of his Pidgey from way earlier. I think we haven't fought him since before the first gym. Kara is able to take out said Pidgeotto with a nice double slap. Abra's on his team as well, who is handled by both Charmeleon and Clefairy. He's also able to take out the Rattata, and thanks to Sing being quite OP, sleep stats are a little strong inside of Gen 1, we are able to take out the Squirtle. I feel a little bit prepared now, so we have to go through the entirety of Misty's gym, getting really close to losing our Clefairy in the process. Like that, we would have had to restart at that point. There would be no purpose in trying to do this with just Charmeleon, so I am a little reluctant inside of that process, and after getting up a little bit more levels on Nugget Bridge, we go and challenge her. First off is Staryu, who gets a nasty third of Water Gun damage off on our Charmeleon. I switch in Clefairy after getting nothing thanks to its X-Defend, negating my Leer. After a couple double slaps, we are able to take out the first star, and the second star comes in. After a Water Gun, it gets put to sleep by Sing, and after that, Kara just does Kara things, and double slap is actually a lot stronger than anything else that we could do right now, as it Starmie special is through the roof, and I have no other offensive moves. So after some double slaps and some pounds, we get a better Water TM. After turning Bill back into a human, we also get a cool little ticket for a boat ride over inside of Vermilion City. So we traverse over there, and on the last trainer, we have a little bit of a debacle. This Spearow goes down, and its secondary Pokemon is Eradicate, hanging out in the back, who gets our... At this point, we're really low inside of HP on both of our main Pokemon. So after Cutie Tootie takes a tail whip, it dies to a huge critical hit. This hurts. We only have 6 encounters that we could actually find, and that was one of the 6. So we're at a little bit of a deficit. I didn't think Caterpie was going to make it very far, but it still is really unfortunate that it dies this early on inside of the run. And now I actually have to update my death counter. Arrival has a few significant changes to his team, basically just evolving a lot of folks. Getting Raticate, Kadabra, and Wartortle, but our 2 dynamic duo is able to take care of the whole team, and I rubbed the captain's back from the front. I don't know how to feel about this other than traumatized, so let's just get on to this gym. I get a HM user so that I'm able to traverse into the gym, and there is a rare chance that the top left spot actually has 2 buttons in a row, and I hit it. Confused as I ever will be, I then challenge Surge. Charmeleon is able to best Voltorb with 3 Embers. Next up is Pikachu, who I switch in Kara for just to preserve some HP, preserve some PP. Kara's able to take out the Pikachu, and after I get paralyzed, I put it to sleep with Sing on the same turn, and after a bunch of Embers, since sleep is just way too good inside of this game, it stays asleep the entire time. And on the turn that it wakes up, as there is no dynamic changes to statuses and speeds, it takes a waking up turn. This is that Gen 1 stuff that a lot of kids nowadays had to miss out on because they would have just woken up. I am also rewarded the Thunderbolt TM that I instantly put on Kara, as I have nothing for water types that are super effectively, and Thunderbolt is just such a good special move. Next on our list, we do get the Flash TM, and have to go and get another HM user, being Voltorb, so that we can illuminate the rock cave. I also do a little bit of what's called item management, as there's only 20 unique items that you can have in your bag at a time. Of course, these unique items get trumped by the amount of items you have. So if you have 99 of Pokeballs, so to say, then you could go to 100, but it'd be on another slot, thus lowering the amount of unique items you have. This includes key items. So you have to really manage how many items you have inside of the entirety of the Gen 1 games, and I found that to be a very unique aspect, as now we just kind of work with bottomless pits, and I mean, it's fun, it's very useful, I'm glad for it, but still, there is just so much more uniqueness that the Gen 1 games had that I really appreciate. So, on to the next gym, after my little ramble there about how cool items are. Carter gets a nice, nasty crit into Victory Bell, and as it gets way too many turns of wrap, it is able to go down. Tangela survives only 2 embers, and after 3 embers, we're able to take out the next Vileplume. Carter gets to level 31, and yeah, that's still the only fire-type move that's learned. Speaking of terrible moves, we get Mega Drain, the base 40 power grass-type move. That's right, 40, because Absorb was here, and guess how much that was? 20 base power. Like, they just did not like grass types inside of Gen 1. I don't get it. We do also go into the Lavender Tower and battle Blue once again. He has a very similar team, but there's a little bit of changes here. Pidgeotto goes down. He has a Growlithe now, so that's pretty cool, having the Fire, Water, Grass core by also bringing in an Execute, who is able to take way too much time thanks to barrages. Kadabra still hangs out on his team, and Wartortle is still his ace, of course, but thanks to our newfound Thunderbolt, we are able to take out the turtle. Since I love to forget things, we would have gotten an encounter here, but I need to go get this cool item called the Sylph Scope, otherwise I'll just see ghosts. Inside of my going back and around, I get the bike voucher, forget that I had the bike voucher, go and get the bike, then go through the dark cave again, drain back into Lavender Town, before deciding on, hey, I think this is a good time to go and evolve our Clefairy into Clefable. So we do so. And yeah, no, now this is an insane powerhouse that I am very excited to use. I've never used a Clefable in any game before, so here we go. Next up, I do get every single drinking item, even though I don't think you need all of them, but just a fresh water to get into Saffron and go into the game corner finally. I think I should have did this right after I beat the gym. However, I just want to take a time to relish on how cool these little blocks are. You know, I never thought about how, you know, why don't I just jump over? But it's because it's tall. So this guy drops a lift key, and after getting blocked out of seeing the battle, we do also evolve our Carter all the way up into Charizard. This is a level 36 fire and flying type who does not learn any flying type moves upon level up, and only has learned Ember. As a level 36, that is insane. I don't know. That's my one qualm so far. Giovanni is waiting for us inside the bottom of the game corner, but Kara is able to take out both Onyx and Rhyhorn with a bubble apiece. Kangaskhan does put up a little bit of a fight, but after 2 Thunderbolts, we're also able to take out the Kangaroo. Good deal. So now I'm actually able to take the Sylph Sculpt, which will net us another encounter, but here we go again with more item management, as if I don't have different kind of items in place or have too many of an item, then I'm not going to be able to pick up things. So it was pretty vital that I had enough space here, even though it was just an iron. I needed to have everything I could. Getting into Lavender Tower, 2 steps in, we see a Cubone, which is way too cool instead of a way. Sadly, its learn set leveling up is kind of atrocious, as it only has Bone Club as an attacking move until like level 33 or so, which you get Skull Bash. But either way, let's go and give a warm welcome to Conrad, the Cubone. Cool guy. He's also able to take out Ghastly since they don't have abilities inside of Gen 1. Even more fun things to deal with. And we reveal Marowak to be the ghost up top. It takes 1 Bubble Beam crit and it dies. Team Rocket is hanging out at the top, and we have to go and clear them out so that we can actually rescue Mr. Fuji, who's hanging out at top here. And after that, we are rewarded with having the ability to wake up any Pokemon using the Poke Flute. We kill a Snorlax, go down on Route 12 so that we can go and get the Super Rod, an item that we'll have to use to fish up a specific Pokemon. We backtrack to north of Vermilion City, and after getting a bite, we find Shelder. Shelder, of course, does not have a C name, but it evolves to a Pokemon that does. That will be a monster eventually. Say hi to Cletus, everybody. Our final encounter is locked behind the Safari Zone, so we do have some other things to take care of while we're here, including getting Gold Teeth, teaching Conrad Skull Bash, and getting the HM for Surf. Good deal. We also run around and find Chansey, who is notorious for running away a lot inside of the Safari Zone, so I decided to throw bait and just start chucking balls until I can't believe we actually got that. First Chansey encounter, by the way. This was awesome. I'm so happy. Now we have Cortisol, as I was quite scared. We then find our way through Fuchsia Gym, doing a little bit of training as the level cap here and with Sabrina's Gym are both 43, so we have to be really careful with how we kind of navigate this with 3 Pokemon at our disposal. We do a little bit of grinding on the core. Oh gosh, yeah, I don't like that belt at all. This bike path was quite the trip. But now we do have our fight against Koga. Conrad starts off with Bone Club as it's its best move, and after seeing an X attack, we're able to take out Coughing next turn. Do Bone Clubs, do the Muck In, as well as one for the next Coughing, and Weezing just takes itself out with Self-Destruct, since Conrad is quite bulky for considering who he is. He's not evolving. He does beat the gym. Very solid sweep. Chansey finally joins our team. We take out the next Snorlax, and I forgot about Sylph Tower. So let's go ahead and let's figure out how to actually play this game. Next off, we have to just try and go through this as quickly as possible as our levels are already 43, so I'm being real careful since we have this rival fight and a Giovanni fight all before the gym. Conrad's just kind of going through things. Carter still with Ember at level 42 is also able to take out the Execute and 2 Embers. Uses Slash on Alakazam. Slash always crits, I guess. And Thunderbolts are able to take out Big Man Blastoise in the back from Kara. Good deals. Next is Giovanni, the big man boss himself. And, this is not going to be too terrible of a battle, I assume, as there's not really too much that he has to really counter us. Kara starts off with a Nidorino, 2 Thunderbolts that are able to take it out real easily. Kangaskhan takes a good amount of damage from the first Thunderbolt, and the second takes it out as well. Next up is Rhyhorn, who, of course, we have Bubble Beam for. Very easy knockout for Kara, and this is looking to be a nice sweep right now. Nidoqueen is 4th, and 1 Bubble Beam gets a nice crit, putting it at about 10% HP. 1 more Bubble Beam is able to take out the Queen. We get the Master Ball, which is going to be completely useless, and make our way into Sabrina's Gym. We have a few more teleportation devices to do, but we luckily avoid all the battles and just start this fight. Carter leads, Slash always crits, kills the Kadabra. Mr. Mime is next. It also gets a pretty nasty crit, but leaves the Mr. Mime about 1 HP. Ember takes it out the next turn. Venomoth is 3rd, who takes pretty good damage from an Ember as it has pretty good special. Slash is able to do more damage, thanks to a critical hit. And last is Alakazam, who, of course, we slash and almost take out inside of 1 hit, as Alakazam just kind of sets up a Reflect in front of us, and we get another crit with Slash. Here you go. Carter's insane. I don't know how many crits we've gotten today, but it's too many. Next up is the next gym, and since we are against fire types, we decided it is time to add our 5th and final team member to the team, Cletus, the Cloyster. Good deal. I'd never used Cloyster before, but I am really looking forward to it. We go through the Pokemon Mansion trying to get some levels, getting some important items like different TMs, and the secret key to actually let us access the Cinnabar Island Gym. Blaine is the leader who has a bunch of fire types, so we go ahead with the new learned Bone Meringue, and Conrad takes out the first Growlithe inside of 1 use. Takes out the second Ponyta inside of 1 use as well. Rapidash befalls to the same fate, but since I am at -2 defense, I'm a little scared, but since Arcanine misses its takedown attack, Conrad is able to get it down pretty low. It takes nothing from recoil, by the way, which is insane, and as usual, Carter crits with Slash. We get Fire Blast, but we're not going to learn that to Carter. There's a more useful move that's more consistent that we'll learn soon enough, right? Well, since we only have one more gym to go and Giovanni has since returned to the gym, we are able to go into there. And at level 46, we learn our next fire type move in the version of Flamethrower. How does a fire type go from all the way to level 9 or so to 46 without learning a fire type move is so beyond me, but let's just take care of this last gym leader. Cletus leads as he's 15 levels under this Rhyhorn, but Surf is still more than enough thanks to its DVs, not effort values or initial values, but there's a different kind of value inside of Gen 1. It outsped it. Kind of crazy. Anyway, Cletus is able to go for a Flamethrower that, of course, crits the Doug trio. And he also has the move Dig, so into the Nidoqueen, just go for a very nice Dig that gets a critical hit. I get another Dig attack into Nidoking, who lives thanks to it not critical hitting. And Kara switches into the Nidoking so that it can take it out with a couple of Bubble Beams. Not too bad. And now we have 8 gym badges, which is actually kind of crazy to think about. Next, we have just 6 more fights until we're through the game, at least mandatory fights. Kara leads off versus the Pidgeot. Takes a quick attack after seeing it set up agility, or 2 Thunderbolts are more than enough. Blizzard Oko's a Rhyhorn, good deal. Bubble Beam gets the Growlithe quite low, but after a speed drop in Leer, it's dead. Execute is the 4th, dies to 1 single Blizzard. And since Alakazam has a lot of special, Thunderbolt really does nothing to it. It sets up a Reflect before Carter comes in and, of course, gets a crit, which kind of ignores a lot of the defense, but he lives at 1 HP, which is actually quite crazy to me. Take it out next turn, and Blastoise is last, who withdraws a couple of times inside of Kara's face. But since we have Thunderbolt and a lot of special defense inside of our special stat, Hydro Pump doesn't really do much to me. And apparently I need practice, even though I just beat him. So after pushing some rocks and trying to navigate through Victory Road, doing this very impossible stunt. I don't know how I got a rock up here. Maybe you can do this in the base game? I've never seen that before. Very confused. Almost as confused as this bird that's just kind of hanging out in a cave. But what do I really know? There's some more trainers to kind of beat up in here. As we get everyone up in levels, here's our final team. We have Cletus the Cloyster, Water Ice type with a huge defense stat. Surf, Withdraw, Swift, and Tackle, as it doesn't really get any level up moves. Kara the Clefable, who's going to carry us through this entire Elite Four. I am so ready. Thunderbolt, Blizzard, Bubble Beam, and Mega Kick. Conrad the Cubone with a pretty decent defense stat. Okay attack. We have Bone Ring, Skull Bash, Strength and Thrash, Cortisol the Chansey with the insane special stat and huge HP. It has Toxic, Double Slap, Sing, and Egg Bomb. It is here to stall. And finally, our starter, Carter. Fire and Flying type, great stat spread with Slash, Dig, Flamethrower, and Leer. I wish there was more level up moves, but here we go. It is time for the Elite Four and to see if these 5 individuals can kind of run through the rest of the game. Dugong is first, and Kara just takes it out in 1 Thunderbolt easily. Then, as well as the subsequent Cloyster, I would say, but it wants to live on 1 HP and get a Spike Cannon off at us. So we take it out the next turn. Thunderbolt does good damage to Slowbro as it uses Water Gun. I get a crit after he gets a crit, and Jinx's Ice Punch are actually doing some nasty work, but since it has a pretty decent special and is apparently super effective onto a Fire and Flying type, we switch in Charizard so that we can take it out. Lapras is last, and since we get a Paralysis on him, we're in a good spot until he freezes us with Blizzard, putting us at 30 HP, and Frozen is just a crazy combination. We switch in Cortisol, making her own Elite Four debut, and kind of had to work this for a little bit as we have no kind of attacking stats. Cleus eventually switches in and uses a couple of Swifts to swiftly take out the Lapras. After Lorelei is Bruno. Bruno has a terrible team in this game. First off, starts with the Onix. Then I switch in to Carter onto the Hitmonchan. Of course, we still don't have flying type moves, and Fly is ineligible to be taught to a Charizard. I'd never got that in my life. There's a second Onix that dies to Cloyster, and the subsequent Machamp also falls to a crit. Cletus and Cloyster just kind of ran house on this guy, but we need some Conrad action, and that's exactly what we're gonna get against Agatha here. Since Levitate is an ability and abilities don't exist in this game, 1 Bone Ring is able to take out the first Gengar. We do stay in for a little bit versus this Golbat who loves to spam Supersonic. I swear every other turn it is abusing and using too many Confuse Rays. You can see here just how many times Conrad had to break through Confusion, but this Haunter was 10 times worse after using Hypnosis and Dream Eaters and Nightshades. Puts my Carter to sleep on a switch. My Cubone was already asleep and he used Hypnosis. That is insane to me. Getting Nightshade again, it gets us way too low. So on another switch, we get hit by Nightshade as, I guess, inside of this game, Nightshade is able to hit normal types, question mark? I'm not going to ask too many questions, but you can see the answers. We do end up getting a paralysis and breaking through Confusion onto the Haunter, totally breaking free and not being confused anymore as we take it out. Arbok is one of the last Pokemon in here, but it switches out into Gengar last moment, so using more Nightshade spam as it can hit normal types, I guess. Bubble Beam slows it down a little bit, and after a few more turns of trading attacks and still being able to outspeed, even at 12 HP, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't care if we outspeed, I am switching. Cletus gets confused, but is able to still knock out with the Surf and breaks through Confusion for the next turn to take out the paralyzed Arbok. Well, that is 3 down, 1 more to go in the Elite Four. That was way too close. Lance, the Dragon-type trainer, is the final challenge before we go to the champion himself, and we're gonna see just how this goes. He's kind of out of the screen right now, but Gyarados leads with Dragon Rage, and Kara takes out in one hit of Thunderbolt, of course. I missed not 1 but 2 Blizzards in a row before a third gets a critical hit, getting our first Dragonair knocked out. Second Dragonair also goes for Hyper Beam, gets a crit, leaving Kara on 3 HP before taking out with another Blizzard. I have to switch into Cletus onto the Aerodactyl, as it also has Supersonic. I swear, there's 2 bats that have Supersonic inside of this Elite Four. It is insane. Well, it's a Pterodactyl, but you know, whatever. I don't really have anything for the Dragonite in particular, so Cletus just kind of spams Surf inside of its face, taking 52 damage from a Hyper Beam before, I'm at 5 HP. It's time to switch things around. Going through Conrad, going through Carter as well, taking a nasty Hyper Beam again. Carter always crits and also got a burn, so I mean we were able to take out Lance. Thank goodness. Oh my god, that was way too close. I used the rest of my rare candies, make sure Conrad doesn't evolve, and now it is time for our final fight against Blue. I still haven't had any of our 5 die inside of the Elite Four stretch, so I am feeling quite good about ourselves right now. PGS starts with a Sky Attack, and of course, since that is a charging move, I kind of get a free attack onto him. Getting it quite low before switching into Cletus to take said Sky Attack, which still does a pretty decent chunk considering how high my special is, or my physical defense is, sorry. Surf takes out the Pidgeot, and into the Alakazam, I do this one cool thing called Toxic Stalling. I don't have any way to actually restore HP on my Chansey or to protect it from any moves that it's going to be taking. However, just our low accuracy physical moves and having Toxic just kind of whittle away is more than enough. Rhydon comes in next. I try to go for Bone Meringue with Conrad, but it only does about half. So, I mean, it doesn't really have anything against me since it has a bunch of normal type moves, so I just stay in and take it out. Arcanine is next and does nasty work with Takedown, but my Bone Meringue is able to get it quite low, and at this HP I'm a little uncomfortable, so Carter switches in. And since Carter always crits, Carter gets a crit with Slash. Flamethrower onto the 3-move Executor. Yes, it literally only has 3 moves. It's Barrage, Stomp, and Hypnosis. I don't know how this is an Elite Four Pokemon. But we are able to take it out with 2 attacks. And last but not least, Big Man Blastoise is staring us down. Misses Hydro Pump on our switch, and before going for a Blizzard into our Clefable. Kara hits it with a Thunderbolt and gets it quite low, and on the next turn, Blastoise just kind of withdraws, you know, it retreats and knows that defeat is coming its way, and with one more Thunderbolt, we are able to take out the turtle, defeating Blue and effectively becoming the champion. With that, we're through. We're done. We beat the run. I'm honestly surprised. I knew Caterpie wasn't going to make it to the end, but dying to a critical hit is just like, you know, it's a little bit of salt in the wound. But no, I had a great time kind of running through this game, and you know, it's nice to be able to look back at the past that has been and try to relate that to how the future is. You know, I've never played through a Gen 1 game before. I started with Gen 2 myself and had a Crystal version. That was the first game that I played growing up. But, you know, being able to touch back onto where things actually began was such an experience. And, you know, maybe more people gotta make videos like this, being able to actually feel the past and not, you know, who cares about what's new and flashy. You just do your own thing. All right. I'll see you in the next video.